Jim Jones dropped his eyes, his voice cracked, and his hands shook as he stormed out of the studio and directly into lawyer's office. And now divorce filed without notice. Simply war, because what started as a reality TV love story just turned into a DNA disaster. We're talking about a paternity test so explosive. Not only did it destroy hearts, but it also broke contracts, blew up group chats, and had Mama Jones tossing furniture backstage. And ChrissyLampkin, well, she didn't deny. It in leaked court tape, 6 words that had the entire internet shouting, "I did what I had to pardon me. Sis, you lied about a whole pregnancy. You falsified timelines, marketed wedding specials, established a business on ride or die, all while hiding a fact that might burn. Dipset to the ground. Nah, this ain't a love and hip-hop culture anymore. This is a scandal created by the devil himself. And what Jim's crew discovered next, you won't believe. Let's go down what she signed since this issue is just getting started. It was meant to be just another day in court. A regular hearing over some old contract concerns with VH1. Nothing major, just paperwork and stillness until Jim Jones strolled in with a sealed envelope. No entourage, no TV team, just him, his lawyer, and an expression that screamed, "I'm done!" ChrissyLampkin was already sitting at the table, flicking through her phone as if it were any other Thursday. But when she looked up and saw the envelope in his palm, her expression, now that envelope, had the results of a DNA test that would set the entire courtroom on fire, not metaphorically. Mama Jones had to be taken out after hitting over a display screen and yelling, "I told y'all she was lying." So what was in the envelope? According to court insiders, it was a private paternity test. Jim Jones had gone off the radar, a quiet, clever savage. The test wasn't only for the child ChrissyLampkin said was their little secret. It was also tied to a ChrissyLampkin supposedly informed Jim Jones that the second kid died in the womb. But the twist is that the second child is alive and breathing on record, and Jim Jones is not the father of either. For years, ChrissyLampkin wove the same fairy story that she and Jim Jones were working through problems, taking their time establishing a future off-camera while she was forging DNA records, reportedly paying a clinic staff and sustaining a 2-family lie behind closed doors. The internet caught fire within seconds of the disclosure. ChrissyLampkin lied about getting a free gym. Mama Jones was right, and then the true bomb dropped. When a voicemail from ChrissyLampkin to her previous publicist appeared on a gossip blog, in which she adds, "And this is word for word if the second test comes back negative. Girl, you're preventing a man from learning the truth about a baby, so you may extract one more check out of a reunion special that's not emotional manipulation, that's brand-level sabotage. But it doesn't end there. Sources inside Jim's legal team claim they've discovered anomalies in chronological documents translation. ChrissyLampkin reportedly changed birth records and misused ultrasound video from years ago to convince Jim Jones that everything was authentic. One close friend of Jim's stated that he had always puzzled why she never allowed him to attend meetings. But ChrissyLampkin was convincing, saying things like, "I want one thing that's just for me," or "You stress me out too much." And Jim Jones trusted her. Let's be honest, he's not the easiest man to love, as he'll tell you. But devotion was the one thing he never feigned. So to find out this through lab results, voicemail leaks, and burner phone records, he was heartbroken. In fact, courtroom reporters remarked Jim Jones. He couldn't even look at ChrissyLampkin when the court asked, "Mr. Jones, do you wish to proceed with filing for legal separation based on this new evidence?" He merely ChrissyLampkin didn't blink, didn't weep, didn't even shift in her position. She merely crossed her legs, folded her arms, and murmured one phrase that'll haunt Jim Jones forever. It was never regarding the baby. It was about survival. What does that even mean? Survival. Of what a phony romance. A reality show check. A dream existence founded on faked test results. According to reports, this was not Chrissy's first time performing a prank like this. In 2011, she experienced a pregnancy scare that turned out to be part of a bigger negotiation with one unnamed VH1 employee stated she knew just when to drop. The pregnancy card, when the numbers plummeted, JimJones was set to go, and Mona needed something to anchor the finale. You can't make this up. Or maybe you can, since ChrissyLampkin apparently did for years what actually destroyed JimJones, according to sources, wasn't even the DNA lie. The humiliation, the sensation of being a prop in someone else's production of constructing a legacy that was scripted against him. The court records are now largely public owing to a leaked picture, shows JimJones has asked the quick separation of all shared commercial partnerships, the entire severance of reality show-related contracts, and emotional damages for purposeful deceit and reputational destruction. He's not just abandoning her, he's deleting her. And just when you thought this circus couldn't get uglier, a new character walked in. Cameron, the former Cam's lawyer, handed the judge a sealed folder with the words "additional footage" immediately before the court recessed, proving that his brother, who everyone assumed was out of the picture, had never departed. What does it mean in terms of paternity timeline? For starters, the film, which court sources believe was shot in 2018, shows Chrissy and Cameron together in Miami the same weekend she informed JimJones she was on a wellness retreat in Sedona. And yes, a hotel room was involved. A room and a bill for 2 toothbrushes coincided. JimJones didn't think so, and that's precisely where we start up in part 2. As Cameron tape is shown for the court, a new witness comes forward, and Chrissy's argument falls apart in real time because the DNA test was only the beginning. The remainder is where things become deadly. The courtroom lights dipped slightly as the projector came to life, and everyone leaned in, even the judge. His bench, a hazy timestamp, flickered on screen. August 14th, 2018, 10:42 p.m. Miami. A hotel corridor. ChrissyLampkin in a gray hoodie strolling with her head-down phone in hand. The camera was close to her ear, and she looked around before knocking twice on a door that opened. Cameron was there shirtless, grinning, and gasped. And just like that, the whole courtroom shifted because this wasn't simply a coincidence anymore. This wasn't some harmless encounter or old friendship. This was proof that slammed doors shut. And burns down relationships, the movie moved to a different perspective inside footage of ChrissyLampkin entering into the room, slipping off her sweatshirt showing a tank top and sweatpants, and leaning in murmuring, "Something then quiet." The screen went dark, no audio, no violent footage, but the harm was done. JimJones remained immobile, gazing straight ahead. The judge asked if he wanted a recess, and he waved it off. ChrissyLampkin, stone-faced and unblinking, did not flinch. Her lawyer stepped up and quickly objected to the film, saying it is circumstantial and does not establish anything other than personal interaction. The judge was upset when your client told the court that she was in Sedona on this day. That was all it took, a contradiction, a lie on the record, and just as the court was recovering from Cameron's lawyer went up with the assurance that screams, "We're not done." He handed them another USB. This one had a voice memo reportedly obtained from Chrissy's old backup account, which the court approved. It played Chrissy's voice calmly, coldly, and deliberately. "As long as Jim believes the kid is his, I have power. And I'm not giving it up until I know where I stand with Cameron." One woman in the back row covered her mouth, Mama Jones. Now back in the room with security holding her chair, she began weeping. Again. But this time it was muted and broken, and JimJones just closed his eyes. No one moved, not even the court. The judge eventually cleared his throat and said, "Proceed." And oh, did they drop a second batch of documents? Bank records reveal a $7,000 wire transfer from ChrissyLampkin to a private OBGYN in New Jersey date. 2 weeks before the claimed miscarriage description, confidential results processing. Translation: she paid to keep a second test off the books. Jim's attorney jumped up instantly. "Your Honor, at this moment, we'd like to request a formal motion to investigate prenatal fraud and identity concealment in relation to the paternity claims." We also intend to submit these findings to the district attorney's office. ChrissyLampkin didn't blink, but the color drained from her face just a little. For the first time, she seemed human weak cornered. The judge nodded. Motion noted, evidence accepted. Continue. And then came the twist that no one saw. Coming the court. Summoned a surprise witness. A former assistant to ChrissyLampkin, identified as witness C. Young, nervously gripping her pocketbook like it contained her soul, she entered the stand with shaky voice. Between 2017 and 2020, I worked for Chrissy, managing her vacation social schedules, and she suspended personal messaging. The judge inquired, "Did you observe any activity related to paternity fraud or public deception?" Witness C looked at JimJones and then at ChrissyLampkin. "Yes," she said. "She made me delete messages, but before Jim arrived home, once she made me stage images of her with baby gear to send to Mona Scott even though she wasn't pregnant anymore." The courtroom gasped again. Even Chrissy's lawyer looked surprised. "And why did she want those images sent?" The judge inquired. "She stated she needs promo-ready images for the following season," pitched the assistant. Answered she wanted to make sure the narrative line had sympathy before the reunion. JimJones gazed at her not with wrath, but with anguish, as if someone had just shown him a tomb. The court authorized the following. "Was there any conversation about Cameron?" The assistant nodded. "She used to text him from a burner, which I had to pick up for her once. She'd say stuff like, 'JimJones is becoming suspicious,' or 'Do not respond until after midnight.' It seemed like she was living two lives." The courtroom was silent again, but not on the internet. Bloggers were live, phones were up, and hashtags were immediately trending. ChrissyLampkin burner phone, Char double life, verified Chark Jim deserved better, while ChrissyLampkin just sat there. No cries, no response. Her eyes set on the floor like they were nailed down. And as if that wasn't enough, the court aired one last audio clip for the day. This one received from a Love and Hip Hop production staffer who claimed to have captured it at a backstage scene in 2022. It was ChrissyLampkin off camera, mid-con chat. "You don't need to know everything. A little mystery keeps guys in check. He gets too much truth. He departs. That's how they all are." The judge paused the recording halfway through and stared over his spectacles. Said nothing. Simply shook. His head court was recessed for the day. Jim got up, slowly moved to leave Mom Jones, followed by ChrissyLampkin, who remained there alone like someone recognizing the game. Had finally caught up. But the mayhem had one more surprise to provide. As reporters gathered outside, one of Jim's former business partners went to the mic and stated, "There's more coming emails. Money traces and a voicemail from a Love and Hip Hop producer show that the pregnant narrative was suggested months before filming. So what does ChrissyLampkin lied not only to JimJones, but also to America? And now every brand deal, interview, and manufactured ring on the finger moment is being re-examined under a microscope. Of anger, BH1 insiders are already leaking. Production notes stylists are coming out, and even Mona Scott herself is allegedly under pressure to provide unedited video that might prove the genuine story behind the entire pregnancy arc. And we haven't even gotten to Chapter 3 yet, where stolen emails reach the news. Court orders are made for Chrissy's financial accounts, and one last betrayal shatters any prospect of reconciliation since JimJones didn't just lose trust. He lost years. The next morning, ChrissyLampkin showed up to court alone and without gloss. Squad, no producer in her ear, no entourage talking strategy, just her big shades and a stillness that felt heavier than anything she'd worn before media called her name. But she kept her head down. She marched right through security to her seat and waited, because she already knew what was coming at exactly 9:03 a.m. Jim's legal team came with a new exhibit, a printed thread of internal emails between ChrissyLampkin and a now-dismissed VH1 executive, subject line controlling Jim's narrative inside directions, narrative points, timing cues, and at the bottom of one thread, the One that made the judge raise an eyebrow was a remark from ChrissyLampkin that stated, "Let's lock in the pregnancy scare for episode 3. That affords me time before I have to explain why the Miami trip is over." Even her own lawyer looked stunned as the judge asked, "Manon, can you corroborate this? How are you communicating?" ChrissyLampkin stopped and then said, "Yes, Your Honor, I sent that." The courtroom did not gulp it. Didn't need to, everyone already sensed the change, the transition was complete. Chrissy wasn't just a reality star anymore. She was the villain in her own series. And JimJones, he still hadn't said anything. He sat calmly, sometimes sipping water, almost as if the grief was past and this was just business. But then came the moment that shattered even him. A court technician wheeled in a screen for one more piece of evidence, and verified time-stamped iCloud voice. Letter from ChrissyLampkin dated 1 year ago. On the video she's heard talking to someone on speaker. "If JimJones ever finds out about Cameron, it's over. He won't survive it. That's why I stated the baby was his. I needed to believe in something, and I wanted him to remain until the spin-off got green-lit." The air was taken out of the room, not a murmur or a breath, just the sound of Jim's lawyer steadily pressing. Back his chair and standing, he approached the bench. "Your Honor, we are providing this as final proof indicating purposeful emotional manipulation and business fraud." Judge nodded and stared straight at Chrissy. "Do you deny the authenticity of this audio?" she murmured. And that's when the dominoes started to fall. Jim's team issued a formal move to freeze all joint accounts and assets awaiting further inquiry, which the judge accepted. Then came the revelation that federal auditors were initiating an examination into Chrissy's company files, charity contributions, and digital transactions tied to her brand. The court clerk gave her Chrissy didn't dispute, dodge, or cry when the attorney handed her a subpoena packet thick enough to fracture a windshield. Looked exhausted, like a woman finally realized the plot she wrote was now writing her back with court orders, proof files, and invoices she couldn't delete. But it didn't end there. While Chrissy's entire public image was dissolving inside the courtroom, the internet was outside ripping apart her brand like a pack of wolves. Instagram sites that had previously backed her were flipping captions Team ChrissyLampkin changed into Chrissy duped us all. TikTok was swamped with side-by-side comparisons of clips where ChrissyLampkin feigned grief over the pregnancy, while the true timing portrayed a different narrative. The strangest portion was a leaked internal discussion from VH1 showing producers laughing about pregnancy arcs, with one statement that landed like a punch she promised. "Had a baby and gave us ratings." That's the exchange. So this wasn't just betrayal, but a production-wide performance designed for views driven by lies and paid for with emotional money that JimJones never agreed to spend. And when the judge eventually turned to him and said, "Do you have anything to add before we wrap up today's hearing?" He stood up. He stepped to the center of the room, took a deep breath, and stated, "I just want peace. I don't want revenge. I want my time back. I want my story told the right way." And then he walked out, no glance back, no drama. Just a guy fleeing the ruins of a life that was never real. But ChrissyLampkin wasn't done yet. As soon as court finished, her publicist, the same one who was voicemail leaks, have revealed the statement on her behalf said, "Chrissy acknowledges she's suffered emotional harm, trying to get away from television and emphasis on rebuilding privately.